Okay, this is the forum for candidates of secretary. Welcome, ladies. So we'll start from my right, so I'm assuming that's your left. To introduce yourselves, we'll go down the line, and then I'll start with the questions, okay?
My name is Micah Fuller, and I'm currently a 1L.
My name is Nanaya Manning, and I am currently a 2L.
My name is Crystal Lunsford, and I'm currently a full-time 2L.
My name is Chelsea Wilkerson, and I'm currently a 1L.
My name is Michelle Hall, and I'm currently a 1L.
My name is Heather Tucker, and I'm currently a 1L.
Wonderful. Now, the first question is for Micah. How do you view the role of secretary within the executive board?
As a member of the 1L representative, for Section A, I've seen the secretary fulfill the roles of being organized, maintaining meetings. I've seen the secretary fulfill duties of scheduling meetings and making sure that we have a cohesive date for us to have meetings, have locations for meetings. So I think the overall role of secretary within SBA is to maintain order, also keep organized documents, files. In addition to that, the secretary has fulfilled the role of planning Barristers Ball. So I see that as another aspect of someone who fulfills that duty of secretary, of having that event planning aspect if they are to plan Barristers Ball next year.
Thank you.
I view SBA secretary role as a person who is not only organized, but is also able to fill gaps where gaps need to be filled. So wherever committees are lacking a person or wherever there's leadership missing, the secretary is able to step into that position. I also view the role as SBA secretary as somebody who is in communication with not only the members of the executive board, but also the rest of the student body. So someone who's able to be clear and concise and, again, maintain organization and order.
Thank you. And Crystal?
I view the secretary as being one of the most important roles of the SBA. All the positions are important, but I see the secretary role as more like the wheels on a car. They keep the board running. The president is more like the driver, and all the other positions kind of fill in and keep everything on track. But the secretary is kind of there to send out communications to the student body to make sure that everything is up to date for us. The meetings, the dates for scheduled meetings and events that are planned for the school throughout the semester. So I see the secretary position as the one to kind of keep things on track, to take on different roles where it's needed.
Wonderful. Thank you. Chelsea?
Yes, and I see the secretary position as being just a great opportunity to be a part of a fantastic team. That's one of the great things that I've always enjoyed about being in school and in my professional career, and especially now that I've become a student at John Marshall. So when you have these confluence of ideas and different perspectives and people from different backgrounds, and you end up coming up with having work product that is just fantastic because you have a diverse group of people who have come together. So in the secretary position, you have the opportunity to support the vice president and the president and the different positions in SBA, but you also play a vital role in and of yourself in that you need to know the committees that are here at the school, the different clubs, and also know, just be able to be aware of the news that is going on with the school and have a role in communicating that to the student body. So being able to do that is a great way to know everything that's going on with John Marshall, but also have SBA as being your top priority.
Thank you.
So
Michelle?
the role of secretary, in my opinion, is organization. Organization in what needs to be accomplished microly in the meetings that we hold, and macroly for the student body as a whole, 1L through 4L part-time students. It's a way to keep a cohesive communication and dialogue going between the students and the exec board on SBA. It is, I would say, the single most important role when it comes to keeping involvement with the SBA between the student body and the exec board.
Thank you. Heather?
Well, these were all great answers, so I'll start by saying ditto to all of it. But when I think secretary, the key word I think of is communication. Being able to hear the president, vice president, taking note of it all, and being able to communicate that effectively to the entire student body so everybody can feel involved and being a resource if anybody needs to communicate with the SBA. I'd love to do that through a secretary role.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll go back, starting again with Micah for the second question. As secretary, your role is to coordinate all internal and external communications of the executive board. Explain your experience in this area and provide an example of your success within this area.
As mentioned previously, I served as 1L Section A rep. So what that entailed is taking what we've learned or discussed in an e-board and communicating that to students. So I've had that kind of presentation aspect of communicating to students. On the other end, I've worked in marketing prior to coming to John Marshall. I worked as a project manager, and what that entailed was communicating to a group of people and making sure whatever project we needed to complete was completed efficiently and on time, which comprised of making sure that parties were aware of what was going on, they were aware of the schedule, and we were organized in order to accomplish that one task. So I've had experience outside of John Marshall as well as here at John Marshall as a Section A rep.
Thank you. Now, Nana, the same question. As secretary, your role is to coordinate all internal and external communications of the executive board. Explain your experience in this area and provide an example of your success within this area.
Sure. So over the past 5 years, I've been fortunate enough to serve on 5 separate executive boards, and each time I served as secretary. And I think that serving each time I've learned something completely different from the role, and I've been able to take different things away. Mainly that people communicate differently, and so I've been able to figure out my strengths and my weaknesses and how to apply them to my executive board. And so I think that using what I've learned about myself and what I've learned about how to communicate with people and how people will take minutes in and how they take different tasks in that need to be done, I would like to utilize those skills and apply them to the position as SBA secretary.
Wonderful, thank you. Crystal, you need me to repeat the question for you?
Yes, please.
Yes, okay. As secretary, your role is to coordinate all internal and external communications of the executive board. Explain your experience in this area and provide an example of your success in this area.
Well, currently I am serving as the secretary of the Christian Legal Society, and through this position I have sent out various communications to the student body using OrgSync and both through John Marshall email. And I feel that through this position I've learned how to use OrgSync better, whereas it's posting flyers for events and getting flyers sent out to the student body, responding to students' questions when I send out something and they reply through email. So I feel like being the secretary of the Christian Legal Society has prepared me for this position. And an example would be for our monthly Bible studies, I would have to send out reminders to students or send out like flyers to them just to keep them abreast of what the Christian Legal Society had going on.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay. Now, same question, Chelsea. As secretary, your role is to coordinate all internal and external communications of the executive board. Explain your experience in this area and provide an example of your success in this area.
So I've had several opportunities to volunteer and to have internships. The one I'd like to highlight is when I interned with the Department of Health and Human Services. And while I was there, I was responsible for not just communicating with my team, but of interns who had different backgrounds than I did and were in different areas of their academic career than I was. But also I had to communicate with the executive board, including not just my boss, the assistant to the director for HHS, but also with the director herself. So having that experience and being able to communicate with people who have different educational backgrounds and experiences, and being able to understand, what they're saying and, how to relate between parties was a great experience for me. And then with SBA being the secretary, I look forward to having the opportunity to do that and apply and bring my skills to the table, because I know that with SBA, as I mentioned before with John Marshall, we have such a diverse group of students. Being able to communicate what we say in the meeting to other members and outside is really important.
Thank you. And Michelle, do you need me to repeat the question for you?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay.
For me, that really breaks down into external and internal. efficiency in internal communication is completely different than efficiency in external communication. As law students, we get a lot of emails that we have to shift through. We have to figure out what the point is, what we're getting at, and shift it into our schedule and figure it out. As a member of several executive boards in various capacities, I have gotten very good at determining how quickly and efficiently each email needs to be sent to either the internal executive board or the outside student body in a way that communicates the opportunities presented as well as the responsibilities of such a position.
Wonderful, thanks. And Heather? Yes, Heather, same question. Do you need me to repeat the question for you?
No.
Okay.
Undergrad, I worked as a student rep for an organization on campus that promoted teaching as a profession, and being one of those students who sit around at the student center trying to pull people in, share your message about your organization. Not everybody's willing to sit around and listen too long about what you have to say, so that experience has definitely helped me gain skills to pull out the key facts, communicate just those material issues very quick and in an efficient way, while also retaining all the materials so that if anybody is interested in further information, I can also communicate that. So that is my personal experience I feel will help me as secretary here. To piggyback off Michelle, what Michelle was saying, to keep everything efficient while also having a database for anybody who is interested in the full story.
Wonderful, thanks. Back to Micah, our last question. Please provide an example of one project you would like to spearhead as an executive board member.
As my time in SBA, one of the things that I've learned is that we need continuous leadership training. Not everyone comes in with the skills or the know-how in law school on how to run student government. So one of the things that I thought to implement based off of my experience is a leadership workshop. And more specifically, it's geared towards those students who is their first time either in SBA, if they've never held a leadership position. And what that leadership workshop will consist of is one day, instead of us having an SBA executive board, would be for us to have just a workshop where we can communicate with other executive board members, get to know one another, and we can also train one another on how to requisition rooms, how to request reimbursement forms, and updating OrgSync with all the necessary forms that we need to complete different tasks. So I think that's one of the things that I'd like to implement is a leadership workshop where we continue to develop our leadership skills while we're also leading our John Marshall cohorts.
Wonderful, thank you. Nana, same question. Do you need me to repeat it for you?
No, okay, thank you. One thing that I would like to see happen here, and one thing that I would like to spearhead as an SBA executive board member, would be the implementation of some type of suggestion box for students to utilize in order to communicate with SBA. And so I think a lot of the time, students, they feel that their concerns and their questions and any comments that they have, they're not being heard, and that, that they don't have a say in what goes on with SBA and with the school in general. And I would like to see some type of implementation of a suggestion box so that SBA can effectively communicate with students who do have questions so that we can answer these questions and we can find out what they would like to see and what they want to be done at John Marshall.
Thank you. Crystal, same question.
One of the things that I would like to see continue is the Beautify John Marshall project that was started. I would like to see that to continue and to flourish because we do spend most of our time here, and I feel that it's just only right for us to have a building that we enjoy coming to, that we don't dread walking into the doors. So something that the students can feel comfortable in, an environment that will uplift them when they come into the door. So I would like to see the Beautify John Marshall project continuing, and I would like to spearhead that initiative.
Thanks. Chelsea?
One project that I would like to spearhead would be to, I know John Marshall has a lot of volunteer opportunities, but what I would like to do is maybe have a John Marshall's Volunteer Day to where it's not just with the 1Ls or 2Ls or 3Ls or 4Ls, but we all come together and just have a day where maybe on the weekend, like on a Saturday or a Friday, where we can all go out, and we've already had our different volunteer responsibilities with whichever organization, but we just still kind of make it a day of going out and doing that together. The reason I want to highlight that is because Atlanta has so many worthy organizations, and we do get so much information about great volunteer opportunities, but I think it builds a lot of camaraderie when you go into that endeavor together. And potentially incorporate into that, we could have different representatives of different organizations, nonprofit, to come to the school and speak for themselves. When you're reading about an organization through email, it means one thing, but it means something totally different when you have someone who's passionate and invested coming and telling you about their organization. So that's what I like to do.
Wonderful. Thanks. Michelle?
Yes, ma'am. One of the best parts of being a John Marshall student is that we are a smaller school. We interact with each other on a daily basis. By the end of exams, probably too much. I really enjoy about this school the amount of interaction that happens between faculty and administration and the student body. That is something that I wholeheartedly believe can only get better with increasing the amount of time and the amount of communication that we have, and that would be something that I'd be very interested in keeping going and advancing would be pizza with the dean and things like that.
Great. And same question, Heather?
I would love to implement some sort of online participation forum for those students who are so busy or perhaps can't afford to say when it takes a few hours to get home in the traffic these days. Perhaps online meetings, or the suggestion box was a good idea, something online where students can participate without having to come in and show their face and spend too much time.
Wonderful. Thanks. Now we'll take questions from the audience. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Please project too.
Yes. My question is for each of you. Just in case you lost the election, are you still going to be involved with SBA, or is it you want the position to be active?
Well, I still want to be and will be a member of SBA. I do want to have an active role, but just because I don't have a title doesn't mean that I can't take an active role in being a member of SBA. So I definitely will still be here and be involved.
Anybody else want to answer that question?
I agree with Chelsea. The title helps with the efficiency of your planning and your thoughts and your help, but it's not a requirement to be part. You are an SBA member by being a member of the student body, so it's not required.
I learned this phrase from a 2L, Randall Mixon, I'm going to cite him, but he introduced me to the concept of servant leadership, and I feel like that's one of the things that I've always been adamant about. It's always been a natural thing for me to want to help people, to do for others. So it was a conscious choice for me to run for SBA. It was a conscious choice for me to run for a representative of the 1L class, but it's always been something for me to be an advocate for others, to come together with my class and to be a leader in my own right. So if it's not with SBA, it'll be in the classroom, it'll be in volunteer opportunities, or any other organization on campus that I'm a part of. As long as I'm able to serve others, to help others, I feel like that I'm a leader in that aspect.
Thanks. Does anyone else want to answer? Okay.
If I'm not elected as the role of secretary, I would still like to volunteer for whoever becomes president or secretary where I'm needed. Just ask if they need some help with something, or just get in where I can fit in, basically. Just see where I'm needed, because I am still a student at John Marshall. So the decisions that are made and the things that are happening still does affect me. So I would still like to be a part of it.
Great. Thanks.
I echo what Crystal is saying. I believe that all of us are here because we care about John Marshall, and we care about the student body, and we want to make this a better place for all of us. And so I don't believe that just stops at SBA. There's so many different avenues for getting involved to make improvements, and so I don't believe that if not elected, that I would just drop out and not care.
Great.
Personally, this being my 1L year, I didn't want to overload myself. I didn't really know what I was getting into. But now that I've got a year under my belt, I know what I can handle, I know what I need to do. I definitely plan on getting more involved in everything I can get my hands on, whether elected or not.
Wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yes?
So I know because I've been on SBA in multiple roles, including an executive one, and being on the e-board, even though each class has a representative, it's very common for facets of students to come to you because your face is there and your name is out there. 9 times out of 10, they're not happy. You know, they're not happy with the way that you've done something. They're not happy with the way that things are going on. So how do you handle those irate students when either A, you don't have the sufficient information, or it's information that you are waiting to hear back from, or you can't give them the answer that they want, or what you have to say is the opposite of what they want to happen?
Go ahead, Crystal.
I would say just understand their frustration because we are all students too, and we've all been there like, why is this not happening? Why is this not being done this way? So I just say just understanding their frustration and explaining that you do understand where they're coming from and you do understand their frustration and that you all are doing your best. You will do your best to get the answer to them, and if you don't know the answer, then you would direct them to someone who does know the answer. But just knowing that you are in this type of position on the executive board, just know that that's a part of what comes with it and just expect it.
In a situation like that, I believe that the best avenue to handle it is to hear the concern out and make sure that you have a way to contact that person so that you're able to take that concern back to whoever may be able to address it, whether it's yourself, whether it's other members of the executive board, so that people do feel that their concerns are being heard and that, you're not just blowing them off when they do voice an issue or something that they do have a problem with.
Great. Anyone else want to answer?
In the spirit of the secretary position, I'll keep it to bullet points. Patience and professionalism, always staying professional.
Great. Micah?
So I've dealt with this issue before, and the first time it happened, I didn't know what to do, but I contacted other members of the e-board to see where does this question go. The SBA e-board is comprised of various committees that handle different things, so I think instead of you trying to resolve it yourself, hear that person out, and one, figure out what's the essence of their issue or concern, and then go to the next steps of, okay, is there a committee on the e-board that handles this? Is this an academic question? Okay, can I take this to the academic advisory committee? Is there something I can do with this board? Is it a issue with maybe an organization? Is there a specific committee dedicated to this? So just taking their concerns, filtering it to the right committee, and then at the end following up with them to make sure that they know that you've heard their concerns and that you're doing something about it. Let them know, hey, I contacted this committee. I didn't know the answer, but I went the extra mile to figure out, hey, how can we resolve this? So just making sure that first they hear you, or first that you hear them. 2, is there someone else that handles this? And 3, that you've done what you can to resolve it.
Anyone else want to answer that?
Yes, I would like to add that, just to piggyback off what everyone else has said, that how important it is just to make sure you have that line of communication between the person that has trusted you enough, whether they've trusted you enough to come with you or you happen to be the first familiar face that they saw. It means a lot to have a student to confide their concerns with you. So making sure that they're able to contact you and that you're able to contact them, I think is vital. And just to piggyback off what Micah said, especially making sure that you have that line of communication open and make sure that they know that you care. Because when you have so many things going on, we all get busy. We're all busy. But to know that that person is taking a moment to hear you out and then to follow up on your concerns means a lot. So,
Great.
that's how I would handle that.
Absolutely. Just quickly, acknowledgement of grievances is a huge part of the student body. We all have them. At some point or another in law school, it's a stressful, time-consuming activity that we're in, and to acknowledge that and to know your resources to handle that efficiently. It's not going to help anybody if you don't know who to get a hold of or you don't know how to answer that question. It's not going to help that student, it's not going to help you, and it's not going to help us as a community in general. So you've got to know your resources, and you've got to be willing to access those resources in order to solve the student's grievance.
Great. Thank you, ladies. And if anyone has any more questions, just stop them after.